All right. September 3, 4 p.m. Let's get this Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission meeting started. This is Vice Chair Niger filling in for Chair Becker. Items listed on this agenda may be taken out of order presented. Two or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related discussion may be delayed at any time. Backup material for this agenda may be obtained from Luann D. Holmes, City Clerk at the Office of the City Clerk, 495 South Main Street, second floor, or on the city's webpage at www.lasvegasnevada.gov. Moving on to item number 1, call to order and roll call. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Becker, excused. Vice Chair Niger?
Here.
Commissioner Sherman?
Here via teleconference.
Commissioner Armenian? Excused. Commissioner Debray? Excused. Commissioner Howard? Excused. Commissioner Keller?
Present.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner Zamora? Excused. Commissioner Burgos?
Here.
Commissioner Cornwell? Excused. Commissioner Robinson?
Present.
Commissioner Stitt?
Here.
Commissioner Vokitz?
Present.
Thank you, Vice Chair. You have a quorum.
Wonderful. Moving on to number 2, announcement regarding compliance with open meeting law. Clerk, are we in compliance?
We are in compliance, Vice Chair.
Excellent. Moving right along. Number 3, public comment. Comments during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. Seeing no one for public comment, I will move on to item number 4. For possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of June 4, 2024. Everyone should have a copy of the minutes, and I would need a motion to approve.
Before the motion is made, can I make a suggestion for a change? This is Commissioner Sherman.
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to ask, in reference to the dog park, instead of saying the 4 adopted children that were raised in the home, if we could be more descriptive to the 4 adopted children who were raised at that location and also made such positive contributions to the Las Vegas community.
Commissioner Sherman, this is CWC Clerk Brian Carroll. I hear your change. We'll make that change.
Thank you.
Hi, Vice Chair. This is Jim Lewis. I'm with the Attorney's Office. My only question, I just want to make sure that that's what was spoken at, those words were spoken at that meeting. A change to the minutes is not for adding new language to what was spoken in the meeting, but to accurately portray what was spoken in the meeting. So I just wanted to confirm that those were sentiments or statements made at the meeting.
Yes, I was very descriptive about the career choices that they made. One was an oncologist, one was a lawyer, one was a judge, and one was an MFT who worked at UMC, the burn care unit, and talked quite in detail about how their children were such positive citizens of the community, and that's why I was recommending the word positive for the for the park.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
These words sound familiar. Lisa, would you like to motion to approve with the recommended amendment?
Yes, I would like to make the motion to approve the minutes with the minor adjustment of who were raised at that location and also made such positive contributions to the Las Vegas community.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Burgos. I would second the motion.
All right. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So it is. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 5 already. Report by the Department of Public Safety regarding issues at city facilities and parks, all words. Welcome.
Good day, everyone. So y'all are probably familiar with seeing Lieutenant Kuamara, and so I'm going to be his replacement. Looks like he is potentially going to be out for the next several months, or at least through the rest of the year. So I'm his lieutenant counterpart working swing shift, so I'll be doing these briefings for you all, at least for the ensuing months. This is Sergeant Japolian. He actually leads a squad that's over here in this area. If you're familiar with the POP team, problem-oriented policing, he's the lead of that team, so he's going to be assisting me during these. I also have military that's coming up here later on this month, so he will be stepping in for me during that period. Okay? Oh, yes, yes. Yep, you got it, you got it. Did y'all get all that? Yes? No, sir? Okay, so I'm Lieutenant Mullins. I'm the new guy, essentially. I've been with DPS for about 7 months now. I'm going to be replacing Lieutenant Kuamara for the next several months while he's out on a personal matter. I got Sergeant Japolian that's here with me. He leads the problem-oriented policing team here directly in this area, the downtown area. He's going to be assisting me on these briefs, these monthly briefs, and a couple of times he'll probably be standing in for me while I'm out on military.
Could I have your last names again, please?
Yes, it's Mullins, M-U-L-L-I-N-S.
And Sergeant?
Sarkis' first name, S-A-R-K-I-S, last name, J-O-P-A-L-I-A-N, Japolian.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll be starting off with the slides or the information you all have in front of us. So, Sergeant Japolian?
Yes, just to go over some of this mic is on, perfect. All right, Sergeant Japolian, the city marshals, go over some of the monthly report of August for the parks. We'll break it down by wards. Ward 1, our year-to-date has decreased by 29% for the month of August, from 42 citation arrests down to 30. Ward 2, it's up 17%. Ward 3, we're looking at 33% increase in the citations and arrests for the month of August. Ward 4, there wasn't any change in that. Ward 5, we're up 122%, from 45 being last year to 100 this year. And then Ward 6, we're actually just similar to Ward 4, which is a 0% increase on citations and arrests from last year. And it's kind of up here on this monitor. Any questions on that? No? We'll move on here. Bear with us, our first one, so if we're kind of behind on this clicker here, I apologize.
There we go.
Trailer cameras, we have a camera remain in the Doolittle Park, come back to upstick and stolen vehicles in the area. Doolittle is in Ward 5. The second camera remained at Centennial Hills Park due to extensive turf damage. That's one thing that we've been noticing out in Centennial Hills is that, you get these young gentlemen that are getting their trucks and driving on the turf, causing damage to the turf. And that's why we have the camera out there to hopefully curb some of those issues out there. And then within the last week, the third camera was deployed on Ron's Lot in response to illegal activity in the area, and that's going to be in the Arts District around that area, or kind of downtown area, I would say. Same thing as well, right? Uptake in a little bit of crime in that area. So with the presence of LVMPD and us, we're trying to curb some of those issues down there. And a couple of community-oriented policing that went on. Stupac, August 3rd, back-to-school event, Ward 3. And in Ward 5, we had the Becker Technology Community Center, which was also a back-to-school event since school started. So we'll start seeing a little uptick in a lot of COP events with Halloween coming up, the holidays coming up. And I know there'll be a lot more presence of both LV and PD as well as deputy marshals out there. All right, and that is LT. I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, so for my portion here, I have a few more statistics that I wanted to disclose to you all. So 2024, different than 2023. We came in with a different type of mindset and initiative. So we've been applying more, I'd say, more of a strategic approach to policing in our various parks and facilities. Overall, just year to date, I am going back through July, so we're missing August data on this. I was hoping I could get that before I got here, but just at least through July, overall we have 526 arrests and 869 non-traffic and 99 traffic. So for non-traffic purposes, that's almost 85%, so due to our proactivity, our proactive efforts. This is mainly between, you have our conditions team, our swing ship patrol, and our grave units. Our grave units have been very, very instrumental at night. After they complete their briefings, they go right out of the chute. They go to these various parks that are hotspots, such as Levitt and Lorenzi. They go there as a unit. I've went with them as well. So we go on all four corners. Any exit, ingress, egress points, then everybody will take a corner so that we can capture everybody that's in there. It's really to identify them. We'll discuss resources, but also check them to see if they have any wants and conduct pat-downs, and that leads to additional matters from there, such as warrants or narcotics-related activity. So Graveyard's been instrumental, and that continues to be our course for both sides of the week with Graveyard. Our Justice Levitt's leading the way, of course, as far as our parks are concerned. There have been 281 arrests and citations through July, followed by Lorenzi with 158, Ethel Pearson with 104. The top violations here are remaining in the park after hours and unlawful presence of children in park. Also, warrants would probably be number 3 there. Overall, for wards, we have, Ward 1, 22% increase in citations and arrests. This is year over year, year to date, through July. Ward 2 is almost 15%. Ward number 3 is 18.5%. We have wards 4 is almost 5%. Ward 6, 54%, and ward number 5 is 66%. So I mentioned narcotics earlier. Yes, there have been approximately, I believe what I have is about 32 narcotics arrests throughout all the parks over the last, or at least over the previous month. Justice Levitt, again, that's 9, but that's a lot of their saturation efforts are geared towards Justice Levitt, not just from the numerous complaints, it's also from what the DPS officers are evidencing themselves, that they do continue to come back. They've been getting a lot of really good arrests. I mean, some of them are absconding. They're extradited back to their state for whatever crimes that they're trying to run away from. But narcotics, namely narcotics paraphernalia and methamphetamine, are going to be the top 2. It's not much of a trend here, but lewd and lascivious acts. There were some individuals a couple individuals were caught in a car. They were disrobed, to put it lightly, and then we had another at another park. So there's no real trend there. It's really going to be narcotics related more than anything else. And that's about it for my reporting measure. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions?
Chair Nygaard, this is Commissioner Sherman.
Hello.
I did have a question. Somebody had posted on the Nextdoor app a gentleman who brings his pit bulls to the Barkin Basin Park. These pit bulls have been attacking some of the littler dogs. I'm just wondering if this has been acknowledged or addressed in the Public Safety Office with the marshals.
What park is that, miss?
Barkin Basin.
I'm not aware of that. I just recently took over them, but I'm taking the notes on that. So can you give me maybe the times that you're seeing them and the frequency?
Well, it was posted on the Nextdoor app, and the woman who posted it, she took a picture of the gentleman. I had encouraged her to send that photo to the Department of Public Safety. I don't know if she did, and so I was just following up to see if any, well, really, what is the protocol when things of that nature occur in a dog park?
If we have violent dogs, violent nature, then we're going to accompany our animal protection officers over there. So we are going to assess, and we'll speak with the owner, we'll speak with other individuals, but particularly for things like this, we would prefer to be notified just so that we can do a little bit of an investigation behind the scenes beforehand. So I'm hoping, I do receive those emails, as do the other lieutenants as well, and we respond to any of those if we receive them. So if you could please contact your neighbor and see if she might, if she could follow through on that, or if she did, just to check the email address? So that we can
Yes,
get
I
that?
will do
Okay.
that. Thank you so much.
Okay. You know what, let me go a little bit further with that, because that's an area of concern for me. If you'd like my email address, I'll be more than happy to give that to you.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to be, it's T as in Tom, M as in Mary, U, L, L, I, N as in Nancy, S, at lasvegasnevada.gov.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any others? I have one. Vice Chair Niger, we're kind of come to the end of summer, and I'm just curious. Obviously, we grow in population size every year, and affordability for housing has gotten more and more difficult. So curious if there's been any trend increase of homelessness at the parks or any loitering, things like that, this summer?
Yeah, I would say summer is definitely the busier time, right? They like to get out and visit the parks. You got water features as well, so they use that as a method of, taking baths or whatever it is, right? But yes, there's always an increase in the summertime, and once the winter time comes, it gets too cold for them to be outside, so we'll see a decrease in these numbers come the winter time because of some of those issues, right? When it comes to the housing with the homeless population, we always let them know about Homeless Resource Center, the corridor as we call it as well as the MORE team. MORE team comes out there and provides resources to them 24/7 pretty much. Well, not 24/7, but throughout the week. So there's resources for them, and we offer courtesy rights to the HRC as well rather than enforcement. But yes, based on your question, we do see an increase of population in the parks during the summer times. And then wintertime, we'll start seeing a dip in those numbers, and we'll see a little bit of a decrease on probably citations and arrests as well.
Yeah, statistically, Vice Chair, 25 to 30% is what we've evidenced over the summer so far. Or we're hopeful that with these new saturation efforts, which we implemented them about 3 months ago. So we're hoping that will carry over throughout the rest of the year, and word of mouth will carry with that.
25 to 30% increase?
Increase, yes.
No kidding. Year over year?
No, you're referring to the summer versus the,
Oh, copy.
yes,
Got
the
it.
earlier spring and winter months.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any others? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Item 6, report by Steve Glimp, Parks and Grounds Maintenance Manager regarding park maintenance updates, all wards.
Howdy, Steve Glimp, Manager of Parks and Grounds Maintenance. Welcome back, you guys. Nice, long, hot summer. Our staff has been mostly focused on spraying out turf areas for conversions and non-essential turf areas. And another update, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it driving around. We've had an extremely high tree mortality rate this summer. On the flip side of that, and the good news of that, is that they're mostly species that are not the best in terms of drought tolerance and heat tolerance, so it's kind of shifting us away from something that we probably shouldn't have been planted anyway. So you'll see a lot of dead trees this summer. I just got a little update for you by ward. Complete project in Ward 1 is the Doc Romeo Field 8 fence and new trash cans at Betty Wilson. In progress, we're doing new scoreboards out at Rainbow Family Park, and also coming up, we'll have the bridge at Rainbow Family Park is going to get rehabbed. And then Ward 2, we just completed ADA pass to all the new fields at All-American. On Field 3, we're installing stairs and handrails in conjunction with the turf removal on that big berm that faces the east parking lot. And then in the future, we're going to be doing some Bruce Trent enhancements that are in their turf reductions to make the farmer market area a little more user-friendly. Ward 3, This was vandalized in the spring, and we had to replace it. We couldn't get the original slats that were on the building, so we had to come up with something different. I think they turned out pretty good. New playground in progress at Stewart Place Park, and then on the books coming up at East Las Vegas Family Park, we'll be doing a bunch of fence repairs. Ward 4, the shades at Majestic were replaced, parking lot seal-coated and striped. In progress at Durango Pickleball Court, fenced, raised for shade. They're adding to the existing fence and putting shade up over it. And then new playground at Skyridge Park will be coming up this fall. Ward 5, playground shade at Ed Fountain replaced. Parking lot ceiling at Lorenzi's in progress, and we're going to be resurfacing the shack courts at Doolittle this fall. And then Ward 6, new artificial turf at Gilcrease Brothers Park, and curbing and curbing Sunny Springs basketball courts were just resurfaced. In progress, we'll be doing parking lot ceiling and striping at Centennial Hills, and Grand Teton, the split rail fence repairs from vandalism from kids. So that's all I got. Any questions?
This is Commissioner Burgos, Ward 6. Regarding Floyd Lamb State Park, the ponds, it's been an ongoing conversation in social media, and so I'm just trying to, clarify what's actually happening out there.
So we just got water testing done. We tested for E. coli and a bunch of other pathogens, and the water came up clean. We did retrieve a sick duck that passed away. We got that to Nevada Division of Wildlife, and they're running tests on it right now. We haven't gotten any results back for that. So for the time being, we're keeping them closed just as a overly precautionary stance. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's been, unfortunately, a lot of gossip on the social media platforms saying that dozens and dozens of fowl have been found deceased, so I just wanted to clarify that for the record. That's not the case. I have one more question. This is not it's Ward 1, Doc Romeo Park. I was contacted by some adaptive athletes that use the skate bowls, and they said they were recently painted. They're beautifully painted, but unfortunately what happens now in the bowls, the transition, you can't see the transitions as a skater, so now they're falling because of different lips, because the painting kind of disguises it. So I didn't know if you've heard anything like that, or how that can be rectified.
Steve Glimp, manager, Parks and Grounds Maintenance. I'm actually an avid skateboarder, and none of my friends or any of the skateboarding community has said anything to me about it being more difficult to skate. So.
Okay, I'll have them reach out to you.
Yeah.
We learned something new about Mr. Glim today. I have a question. This is Vice Chair Niger. Are we, as you guys convert, I assume that for the turf conversions, that momentum is picking up even more and more every year. Are you guys tracking like annual water reduction for the water authority?
Yeah, Steve Glimp, manager of Parks and Grounds Maintenance. Yeah, we our water system technicians track all of our water use as we do those turf conversions, and we typically go to subsurface irrigation. Hits 99% efficiency, sometimes 100% efficiency, where overhead spray only gets about 40% to 60%. So, yeah, we definitely track that. Our water is one of our biggest budget items. So.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Item number 7, report by Patrick Amora, Deputy Parks and Recreation Director, on the Southern Nevada Public Land Management Act program, also known as SNPLMA, and a review of Las Vegas projects funded under that program, all wards.
Good afternoon. Pat O'Mara, Deputy Director. I'm happy to be with you guys today. We, in the PowerPoint, which is what I'm looking at, I guess we did that from an older agenda, so we're a little bit out of order on some of our slides and things, but let me just jump ahead real quick and I'll pick right up. So the Southern Nevada Lands Management Act basically tries to connect people with places to recreate or provide conservation of sensitive natural areas. Back in 1998, all the way back in the 1900s, as my kids like to say, the act was passed by the federal legislature, and sorry, I'm still on the wrong spot. The Public Lands Management Act was passed, so parcels owned by the federal government were allowed to be sold off for development and things of that nature, and then the proceeds of that would go toward public infrastructure, for recreation infrastructure, for conservation of these public lands, these sensitive areas. So in the last 20 plus years, 25 years or so, about $4 billion have been generated. The revenue distribution goes to about 8 different places. Generally, we get funding through the Parks, Trails, and Natural Areas group there. And then this list has changed a little bit recently in that it used to just be entities in Southern Nevada would utilize these funds, and now it's helping to restore areas from Eastern Nevada, from some of like mining operations and things of that nature. And then you'll see at the bottom of the list, Lake Tahoe restoration. So there have been a few changes recently. I know in this last round, round 20, which is still being finalized, even Carson City was able to submit for some grant funding. Overall, those sales have contributed to the state education fund, to the Southern Nevada Water Authority, and Clark County Department of Aviation. Those are specific carve-outs from that money, and then the rest goes to the SNPLMA special account. That special account, again, goes to those 8 categories. And those numbers were at the end of the last round, so round 19, those numbers were distributed. And so, as you can see from the list we have here, there are certain times when the city of Las Vegas applies, but is really a pass-through organization. So you'll see on here the Springs Preserve. Several times we were the pass-through organization for that, where they eventually received the funding. But you'll see on here things like the Lone Mountain Trailhead, and then subsequent improvements to the Lone Mountain Trail. You'll see on here Lorenzi Park renovations, Freedom Park renovation, Centennial Hills Park is on there several times because we were doing projects within that space in phases throughout the years. And you'll see we've done really well in some rounds and less well in others. So I think our highest was round 5 when we had close to $92 million in funding. And then there have been years where we have not been successful in getting any funding in those rounds. The most recent rounds of funding that we were granted were 17, 18, and 19. And again, as I mentioned, we're in the process of finalizing round 20. Round 17, we created a park and trailhead at the corner of Harris and Marion. So as many of you know, that's our Arroyo Vista Park, which we're finalizing the last paperwork with the BLM now on that project. That project is complete. We have 2 projects that are running now. I know that you guys have seen these come to you as well. The regional pickleball facility at Wayne Bunker and the regional aquatic complex at Pavilion Pool. Those are both moving forward, and we'll see those opening here in the next few years. And then we have our most recent successes were for the Northwest Regional Park, Phase 1A, and then the Lorenzi Tennis Center additions. And the Lorenzi Tennis Center additions, those will, I believe those ones are supposed to be finished either late ¡25 or early '26. So what we submitted this last year, which started about this time last year, as a matter of fact, were 3 projects: the Betty Wilson Soccer Complex renovation of the west side, the Chuck Minker Sports Complex replacement, and the Darling Tennis Center expansion. Again, those are still under consideration, and we expect to get final word of what we will be granted through this process, if anything, toward the end of this calendar year, maybe early next part of calendar year '25. The Betty Wilson's soccer complex, basically right now it's open grass. It's not engineered to be sporting turf. We use it that way sometimes, but it's not engineered to be that way. And so part of re-engineering it to be athletic space and part of our turf reduction efforts, we are going to be putting in 4 full-size synthetic soccer fields with some trails in there. You can see that there's a calibrated walking path that's illuminated. It ties into the Lone Mountain Trail, which was something that is important to the SNPLMA process. If we can tie into something that's already received funding under the program, that usually kind of bolsters our case. We will also be putting in a playground with shade canopy. We'll be replacing the bathrooms and then expanding the parking at that complex with those funds. There will be some turf area and then mostly synthetic turf. The Chuck Meeker Sports Complex, right now this is kind of the floor plan of the complex. There's 1 gym, 1 dance room, a few cardio spaces, and then a lot of racquetball, and then some staff spaces and bathrooms and things. We have a feasibility study under that is completed that actually reworks that entire site with a dividable court space, an additional court space, multiple dance rooms, fewer but still some racquetball spaces, a larger fitness and cardio space, dance rooms, community rooms, much larger space. I believe it actually more than doubles the footprint of that building. And then the final submission we had, excuse me, is an expansion at the Darling Tennis Center. And that would be increasing the courts by 11. I will tell you that while the final decision has not been made, the only one of our projects that was actually recommended, now it can still go any way, we could still not be funded, and we can still see funding in these other areas, but the only one that was recommended is the Betty Wilson renovation of the west side. So that's kind of where we stand. Again, we should be seeing the final determination by the Secretary of the Interior, we believe in December of this year. So.
Could you go back 1 slide of the Darling Center where it was colored? Whoops. Is that the one?
This is the current layout.
Of Darling Center? Okay.
And this is what we would like to someday see with additional courts.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, these are what we submitted. The priority has been things that are accessible to the masses. things that provide, recreation opportunities with few, if any, barriers. So things like, rental rates or court fees, those kinds of things are generally not well received. Doesn't mean that it doesn't, that it discounts us or disqualifies us in any way. It's just the things that make recreation opportunities accessible to the mass are just highly, they're more well received, so.
Commissioner Voketz, I have a couple of questions. I'm really glad to see us have more facilities in general, but in looking at these, is there an increase in parking in any of these new projects?
Well, as I mentioned, the one that we're actually hopeful to see actually take place based on the recommendation is this Betty Wilson west side of the property. We are seeing an expansion in the parking.
I saw that there, yes.
For that project.
But
So-
the next round is, I guess I should clarify my question.
So a parking project in and of itself would not be something generally considered by the group. So it can be a portion of the overall project. And certainly in cases like this, we did think that through. We did add that. But like, let's say KZ, we usually have a parking problem when we have tennis events or, tournaments or both.
But in adding to, is
doing
there
in
also
addition-
consideration given for parking, adding more parking? If you're adding more, initiatives at the
Internally-
facility.
Sure, internally, we are making, we are trying to make those decisions and trying to, move that forward and provide parking and that kind of stuff. And that's not specific to these projects. The other projects that we consider throughout all of our development, we do consider, overbuilding and parking and certain things and that kind of stuff, so.
And my other question is, do you have an actual start date for the Wayne Bunker project and the Betty Wilson project?
Well, the Betty Wilson project has to be granted the funding. We have to go through several more hoops with SNPLMA before we even get close to that.
Okay,
And so, no, I don't have anything on that. And I believe the other one you said was Wayne Bunker.
the Wayne Bunker
We
pickleball
expect that
complex.
one shortly, but I don't have that date.
You don't have that date?
No.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
I'd like to ask a question, and I understand that you or someone may or may not have the answer to this question, but I'd like to understand the funding a little bit. I've been knee-deep in SNPLMA and learning about all the federal lands. So I understand Clark County is owned 90% by the federal government. SNPLMA designated certain land within that 90% to be disposed of over a period of time to be sold off to citizens. So, and some of that money from the proceeds of those sales goes to the federal government, some comes to the community. So the money, all of the dollars that we see on these sheets, these are amounts that you are requesting from the BLM or Secretary of Interior
Yeah.
For funds that were from these proceeds, is that right?
Sure. So, again, Pat O'Mara, Deputy Director. So the funding distribution is done in rounds. And I'll go back and you can see the most recent rounds. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're linked to a specific calendar year. Sometimes you can see that they go over multiple calendar years. Round 18, I believe, was kind of delayed because of COVID, so it did go over 2 calendar years. Round 19, because we were still dealing with some COVID, is now in its third, or it's in its third year. Round 20 is in its second year. So each time they open up a round, there's a variable amount of funding that's available, because it goes to those different functions. Now, PTNA, the parks, trails, and natural areas, where we find most of our funding, is generally a higher proportion of those funding. I don't make the rules, so I don't know what the number is. but it can vary. And so some years, it's been in the many millions of dollars, many hundreds of millions of dollars. This year, I believe the PTNA funding was pretty close to about $340 million. So it's a decent amount of money, but when you talk about, we had 22 different projects submit for this, somebody's gonna lose, unfortunately. And so that funding, the BLM, the Department of the Interior, they determine what that cycle is gonna be like. If they don't sell a lot of property, then there's not money, and so generally they'll kind of hold on to that till they feel like they have a good enough chunk to do an appropriate round, so.
Pat, do you mind if I add something to that?
Not at all.
My name is Jim Lewis. I'm with the Attorney's Office. I work a lot with SNPL funding. I will just say two things just to add. One, what's nice about SNPL is all the money that is generated within what we call the disposal boundary, which is generally the greater Las Vegas Valley as we know it, comes back to the state of Nevada. The federal government doesn't take any money off the top. And so all of that money comes back into our state. It's actually a really wonderful thing. And then just secondly, like I said, you are wondering where the money comes from. It comes from sales of lands within the disposal boundary itself. So there's only so much land, BLM land is earmarked for sale. Most of the sales go to real estate developers in very large chunks. So, back in 2004, 2005, one chunk of land sold for $550 million at auction. A little later than that, another one sold for several $100 million per auction. That's where the money comes from and is distributed in the formula that Pat described.
Very helpful. Thank you very much.
I have a follow-up question on the status of projects. Do you have an idea of where we stand with Cregan Park and with Police Memorial Park? Are those renovations, where are we at in the timeline on those two parks?
Sure. So those projects are not SNPL funded. They're through other funding sources. Cregan is underway now. And I believe that the timeline is completing somewhere in May. I think that's our May, June maybe. Police Memorial just got underway this morning. And I believe our goal is early to mid-May of 25.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 8, discussion for possible action regarding the renaming of the tennis complex at Lorenzi Park located at 3333 West Washington Avenue, Ward 5, Career. I understand from staff this item is to be stricken, so we will strike, but I believe we need a motion to strike due to procedure. May I?
I'll motion to strike.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are striking number 8. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number...
Sorry, Commissioner Cornwell who made the motion? Is that accurate? Thanks.
Good. Moving on to item number 9, abeyance item, report by staff regarding marketing and communication efforts to increase awareness of parks and recreation activities and opportunities, all words. Obviously, this says abeyance item, therefore we are, do we need a motion to obey it? I have no
It came in
idea.
abeyance from the last meeting.
Oh, my apologies. I thought, just got all these notes here. So we are doing number 9. My apologies. Let's roll.
Good afternoon, Pat O'Mara, Deputy Director. the Office of Communications was otherwise engaged this afternoon, so unfortunately they are not here to talk about this item. So I have a couple of images that you'll see up on your screens, and I'll just kind of talk about them a little bit. This first one is on the Parks and Recreation Cultural Affairs page on our City of Las Vegas website. As you can see there to the right, we have our Parks and Recreation email alerts. So once a month, the Parks and Recreation department puts out a newsletter. We do have sub-newsletters, but once a month we put out a newsletter. Right now, there are about 60,000 people receiving that newsletter. It is the largest the largest recipient list for any of the newsletters across the city. In there, we talk about upcoming programs, upcoming special events, all those kinds of things. And there's an image of just a screen capture of what it's going to look like in your inbox. And again, when we have an event coming up, or if we have a class coming up, we work with communications, and they actually will put in a button to say, learn more about this program, apply for this program, register for this program, and things of that nature. So we do have those. Again, we do have sub-newsletters that will go out. One in particular is our camp newsletter. Our camp newsletter will go out every week during the summer. That one in particular, we pull all the registrants from all of our camps and make sure that they get that. So it talks about what the kindness campaign theme of the week is going to be, and then it talks about this site has these field trips coming up, and this site has that field trip coming up, and things of that nature. It just tries to keep everybody informed of what's going on. And then as communications is really good at doing, they do kind of cross-pollinate, so they will talk about a special event that might still be coming up, even in those other newsletters. And of course, everybody gets a lot of their information from social media these days, and so they work very, very hard on getting information out on the social media page. The social media is citywide, so it's not a department social media page. It's actually run by the Office of Communications. It's just, we're a one-stop shop. We're all Team Las Vegas, and so we go out the same way that it says, hey, it's time to pay your property bill, or here, sign up for a business license, or any of those kinds of things. But we will post things out on social media, and then we'll actually do what's called boosting, and essentially turning it into an ad. And we've had some pretty successful boosts go out this last year. We had the Becker Tech one-year anniversary, or one-year birthday party. That one went out February or March, I believe, and it had 4,300 clicks that then sent them to information pages on the city website. We had lifeguard recruitment happening in late spring. That one generated almost 2,000 visits to the website. And then we also, I say we, as in Team Las Vegas, but communications works really hard with local social media influencers. And so through a couple of different campaigns that they did through the spring, they worked with connecting to over 30,000 parents about things that were going to be happening for their kids during the summer, during the spring, what sports programs we were going to be running, and things of that nature. So there's a lot of community connections going there, and every time we work with communications and we get an update, those numbers just continue to go up. So we're really happy with working with them on that. And then the last image here, and these, I'm sorry, they're a little bit washed out, but this last image shows just one view of our Instagram page. And we have really tried to create a concerted effort to reach out to the community right now, specifically in Spanish, because there are some residents here in the city that prefer to read in Spanish, and we want to make sure that they get the information just as easily as everybody else. And so they've really worked hard to try and, put out our flyers and our social media posts and those types of things out in both languages. That's all I have on that, if there are any questions.
Hi, Commissioner Keller here. Thank you for sharing. In the future, would there ever be an opportunity to give us commissioners digital assets so that we can share on our private neighborhood Facebook communities with our neighbors? For an example, if something is happening in Ward 3, an event is happening, I would love to share that on our, Huntridge neighborhood private community, because there may be a neighbor that doesn't follow Las Vegas platforms, and sometimes that could be lost, and especially coming as a commissioner that represents that area, I would love to share that information from that digital platform.
Sure, we can start identifying ways to share those with you. Perhaps we can put together a link or two directly to you, and then from there you can share it out. We'll work on that.
Commissioner
This
Burgos,
is
Ward 6.
Commissioner Sherman via teleconference. I was wondering if you guys have explored using the Nextdoor app.
That would be a question for the communications team. Again, we have all of our social media profiles as, City of Las Vegas, as Team Las Vegas, and not broken down by department. And so that would be a communication with them. We have regular meetings with them, so that's something that I'll reach out to them on. It may exist. I'm not on social media really for those kinds of things, so I'm not on Nextdoor for sure. But that's something that I can reach out. Maybe it exists and we're not yet aware. So.
Commissioner Burgos from Ward 6. Just a question regarding our adaptive community, our special needs community. Is there a way, I've seen that other cities do this on their websites, where they detail where adaptive equipment is at each park, whether it's adults or children, or just descriptive ways so people can know, families can know exactly where they can go and what kind of equipment, special needs equipment they can use at the various parks. I think that'd be super helpful. I've spoken to a couple of different communities here, and that's been a kind of common thread among the communications, that they'd really like to see something where they can look, whether website or social media, and then they can determine, what parks have what kind of equipment, so then they can use that equipment.
That's a great idea. I can bring that up at our next meeting, and we can maybe start putting some things together.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vokitz, I do have a general question. Is there a master calendar where patrons can look to see what's happening at what facility at what time so they can plan? Not a facility calendar, but an interactive master calendar, so we could choose to take our kids somewhere to an alternate park if one park has a huge dog show, for example. A planning tool, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I don't think we have anything that's that interactive right now, but that's something that I'll discuss with them, and perhaps there are some enhancements to something that's already existing that we could do that with. I know we do have certain capability with our registration system, but that's not going to cover everything that we're doing. And to be honest, if you add too many things, it becomes cumbersome. So we'll add it to our list and start picking away at it for sure. Thank you.
I do want everybody to know you guys are doing a great job, period.
Wonderful, very productive.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 10, report by commission members regarding parks issues and events within their respective council wards and at large, all wards.
Commissioner Burgos, Ward 6. Let's see, on September 13th is Concert in the Park with Brian Wine and the Las Vegas Jazz Ensemble. September 21st is another Concert in the Park, Phantom of the Opera and Andrew Lloyd Webber music. There's going to be on September 14th, the 9/11 of Remembrance, and also Service Day, which will be from 9 to 11 a.m. at Floyd Lamb Park. We're encouraging families to come, especially children, so they can learn of the sacrifices made on that day. But also, we're going to be decorating the community gardens there in honor of those we've lost on 9/11.
Commissioner Vokitzer, I have a couple of questions. One of them is from patrons in Ward 1 and also some county participants, but are there AED devices at all venues? What I'm referring to is a device that does CPR. Is there a policy on this? Apparently, some folks' lives have been saved while they've been involved in some heavy activity, athletic activity. So is there a program or a practice, or is there a protocol and how you would use an AED? Is it for the general public to use? Is it easily accessible? Are they only indoors? Are there some outdoors? These are the questions that have popped up recently with some folks that are pretty active at the venues.
Jim, can I respond to that directly? Okay, so Pat O'Mara, Deputy Director. Yeah, we do have AEDs strategically placed around the community in some of our athletic complexes, in all of our centers, those kinds of things. We do encourage, if it's not required, as much of our staff as possible to get CPR and AED certified, first aid certified, those types of things. Certainly all of our aquatic staff get it through their lifeguard training. So we do encourage that. The ones that I'm thinking of are maybe not accessible to the public if they're in a community center, but they would be available at say, like one of the sports complexes and things like that. I believe that we work with the fire department to get those installed and provided, but I can get you more information. I don't have all the answers to the questions you were asking, but I'll get you some more information on that.
That'd be great. And I have another follow-up question.
Real
and this
quick. Real quick, Chairman, excuse me for one moment, I'm sorry. You might have been wondering why Pat looked at me and asked, should I respond? And I might just remind, we've got an item, it's an open meeting law thing, it's kind of a nitpicky lawyer thing, but we've got a report advertised to the public, and it's a report from you to us about issues and things that you've heard. Obviously, we're going to answer questions that we can, but the open meeting law would really ask us if we're going to have an in-depth conversation to answer a question by one of you, that we'd put it on a future agenda. So if it seems like someone's not answering your full question or taking as much time as you might think, it's only because we've got a bit of a limitation. Just wanted to make sure everyone was reminded of that. But please continue. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Commissioner. Sorry.
Well, I completely understand. Some of this is just food for thought, and some of it are questions that are actually come from. What I do is I make rounds. I go to all the facilities in my ward and some of the facilities in other wards, and I listen to feedback from both the staff and the patrons, and I just want to get that back, that the issues that are cropping up, so you all know what's out there in the community.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the notice. If there are any items that we should add to a future agenda, obviously everyone here, I think, knows who to call. You had something, right?
Commissioner Cornwell, Mayor-elect, I just wanted to say we're having some cleanup work days at the Healing Garden, if anybody would like to join us. They're September 7th at 7:30 in the morning, Saturday, September 14th at 7:30 in the morning, Monday and Tuesday, the 16th and 17th at 7:30, and Monday and Tuesday, the 23rd and 24th at 7:30. So if anybody would like to join, that would be great. Thank you.
Any others? All right, moving on to item 11, citizens' participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the commission. No subject may be acted upon by the commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion of any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Seeing no one, we shall move on from item 11 to item 12, which is adjournment, which means this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.